life can get busy. That's just the nature of this life, this world we live in, with the physical material needs and wants and desires. I mean, there are things that we need physically. There are things that we are busy with and in our lives, and it seems to be a never-ending cycle throughout every day. The things we need to do and work, and the things we can busy ourselves with. And so it is a challenge at times to balance between this physical world and also the spiritual. Making sure we have our priorities where they ought to be, making sure we are putting first and foremost our spiritual needs ahead of our physical needs. And that can be, again, definitely a challenge at times to have that proper balance, to make sure that we are spiritually where we need to be, at the same time still taking care of things in this life and enjoying even things in this life that are there. And an example of this I find in Luke chapter 10. If you'll turn there with me or listen along as we read from the gospel account of Luke in chapter 10, it was a quick happening. Nothing complex here, but very profound, very important reminder here that we see with two women who are in the presence of Jesus at this time. In Luke chapter 10, beginning of verse 38, we read that it happened as Jesus and his disciples, those he was with, it happened as they went, that Jesus entered a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha welcomed Jesus into her house. And that's a beautiful thing. Hospitality and love and care. This is a great thing for Martha to do, and her sister Mary, as we are going to see. Martha, they welcomed Jesus into their home, showing him, that hospitality and that neighborly love. And Martha had a sister named Mary, who also sat at Jesus' feet, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. So here we have it. Jesus has come into this village. Jesus now has been welcomed into this home. You can picture it there, maybe Jesus sitting there, and Jesus begins, teaching those who are present. And Martha's sister Mary, she's there. She's sitting at Jesus' feet. She's intent. She's attentive. She's listening to what Jesus has to say. And Martha is there in the home, but she's busy preparing things for food, for drink, for the things that are going on. And Martha's just, kind of in the background, working as Jesus is there teaching those who are listening. And we are told in verse 40 that Martha was distracted. Luke uses the word distracted. Martha was distracted with much serving. And she approached Jesus and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Therefore tell her to help me." That kind of sounds like a sibling thing. I can hear my own children sometimes, complaining when maybe one of them is busy working or cleaning or serving in some way, and my brother or sister, they're not helping me, they're off doing something else. And here's Martha. Martha's busy serving everybody, getting whatever's needed, doing her thing, and being hospitable and great. Martha was not doing anything wrong. Martha was not doing anything sinful. And now she says, "But Lord, my sister, she could help me out. I'm busy doing all this work on my own." And Mary, she's just sitting there. She's not doing anything. Tell her to come and help me. And Jesus then answered Martha. In verse 41, Jesus said, "Martha, Martha, you are worried, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. One thing is needed, and Mary has chosen the good thing, that good part, that good portion, which will not be taken away from her." And that's it. A very kind of quick happening, but a very important reminder. Again, Martha was not doing anything wrong. Martha was, being hospitable. Martha was serving, and that's great. And she was complaining about Mary, who wasn't helping at that moment. But Jesus' point to Martha was really a simple lesson of how we can all at times get distracted or anxious or worried about many things that really do not take priority all the time. Or that there are more important things to life than just the things of this world. It is a lesson that, at the time, Jesus was there in their house. Jesus was present. Jesus was teaching. That was the most important thing at the time. The most important thing in that moment, in that house, was to listen to the words and the teachings of Jesus. Not to worry about all the serving and all the things, whatever she was doing. Now, that could come later. But it's a lesson in keeping our priorities straight, a lesson of remembering what is important in life and making sure that we put first things first, making sure that we take care of and pay attention to the most important things of life, the spiritual things of life, our relationship with God, our relationship with others, in the moment, in the day, and to not let the distractions of this life. Yes, even things, okay, we've got to work. We've got to take care of chores. We've got to spend time with our families and friends. I mean, there are a lot of good things. They're not sinful things. But what can happen is, if we're not careful, is our schedule, our calendars can get so filled with the distractions of life that we then are dying spiritually. We are neglecting our spiritual needs. It reminds me of Jesus' parable of the sower and the seed that was planted in the thorny ground, and how, it sprang up and it was there, but then what happened was it got choked out. And Jesus talked there about, the heart, the soul being choked out by the cares and pleasures and the desire for other things. And that's what can happen here. That was Jesus' warning to Martha, was, Martha, you are distracted. You are anxious about many things. But right now, Mary has actually chosen the good thing. Mary has chosen the good part. And so it was a lesson for Martha to really pay attention to what's most important, and a reminder for us today. Let's make sure we are not being distracted by many, many things of this life, to where we neglect God. We neglect our spiritual needs. Let's make sure we are putting God first. We are seeking first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these other things will come in time, come in place. Put first things first. Put God first. And let's learn from Martha's example and Mary's example. Let's choose the good part every day. Choose God every day. And make sure that we are not letting ourselves get distracted. God bless.